Hey guys, what's going on? So Fury and Usyk are set to fight on May 18th in Saudi Arabia, one of the first unification bouts in heavyweight that we've gotten in a really long time. So I think it's a really interesting matchup, probably one of the closest fights that we've likely gotten in a while, just looking at the odds. So I just wanted to break down both fighters, their styles, what I think could likely happen, and then give a little bit of a loose prediction. So you have Tyson Fury on one hand, who's coming off a pretty hefty amount of wins against Deontay Wilder, getting the best of the trilogy, starting off with a draw after his return to boxing and then beating him twice via knockout. And a few fights after that, looked a little bit shaky against Francis Ngannou, had a pretty poor performance there, but I think he'll be pretty much in tune for this fight. And on the other hand, you have Oleksandr Usyk, who really got the best of Joshua twice, beat him via decision, but really outclassed him in a lot of ways, really outboxed him, and didn't really show any signs of getting hurt, at least not getting knocked down by Anthony Joshua, whereas we just saw him knock out Francis Ngannou pretty quickly in their fight. So I don't necessarily think in terms of the fighter math that because Usyk beat Joshua and Joshua beat Ngannou in that fashion, and Fury had a really poor performance against him, that means the fight is definitely in Usyk's favor. I think if anything, Tyson Fury probably underestimated Francis Ngannou, didn't have his best camp, wasn't really taking it seriously, and got a little bit lazy and just ended up having a lackluster performance. It was also the first time we saw Francis Ngannou in his boxing debut, so I think he wasn't exactly sure how he was going to come out. And he also had Mike Tyson in his corner, whereas against Anthony Joshua, he didn't, since he's getting ready for his upcoming fight with Jake Paul. So I think Ngannou also didn't likely have as strong as a camp as he did for Tyson Fury, but I think it ultimately just boils down to Fury's work ethic was lacking there. So in terms of their styles, you have Tyson Fury, who's really huge, 6'9", weighed in at 277.7 pounds. But he is orthodox or right-handed, even though he's not really that orthodox when it comes to his little bit unique style, but really is going to have a significant reach advantage in this fight. 89-inch reach, whereas Usyk is a southpaw. I think that will be a little bit tricky for Tyson Fury. And he is a little bit more of a natural cruiserweight, even though he has been at heavyweight for quite some time now. But coming in at 6'3", 78-inch reach, and weighed in at 221.5 in his last fight against Dubois. And I'd say in comparison, Oleksandr Usyk is a lot quicker, has really good footwork, and is ultimately pretty hard to hit, or pretty hard to hit with power, just since he is able to move so well for his size. But then again, you have Tyson Fury, who does have the power advantage, has shown he can be really aggressive and can fight forward with what we've seen and how he turned his strategy around against Deontay Wilder. In his first fight, came in really defensive, really technical, but said actually after he got almost knocked out in the last round of that fight, that he just kind of threw his strategy out the window, really came forward towards Wilder, and noticed that he wasn't able to fight off of his back foot. So that's really what led to a complete transition in Tyson Fury's style, really going for that knockout, and he did that in those next two fights. So he can really fight dirty in a lot of ways, really can lean on you, put a lot of weight on you, but he still can fight technical. So I think there's a lot of options for how Fury can come out, whereas Usyk is pretty limited to that pretty dominant technical fight, good footwork. I think it's very unlikely that Usyk is somehow training to knock Tyson Fury out. He definitely has a puncher's chance, but it just really isn't in his style, and I don't know if that's necessarily in his capability. So in terms of some other skills between them, I'd say Fury takes the slight experience advantage as well. has more fights on his record with 34 wins, 0 knockouts, and that 1 draw to Wilder, has 24 knockouts. And then we have Usyk 21-0. So I'd say in terms of professional fights, Fury has that experience. Even though Usyk really has a decorated amateur career, I would still give the experience to Fury. And they're both relatively the same age. Fury's 35, Usyk is going to be 37. And I really think one of the interesting things about this fight will be what exactly will happen during the clinch, because I think that's really going to favor Tyson Fury, especially if he comes in heavier than what we've seen or fairly heavy in comparison to his weight. He's likely going to want to try and lean on Usyk, be the bigger man, really bully him in a lot of ways. So I think for Usyk, he's really going to have to counteract that, almost do a little bit of wrestling in the clinch and really be smart and try to avoid it, keep his distance, really not give Fury much of an opportunity to even clinch to begin with. So I think that's going to be almost one of those things you don't really focus on in terms of looking for these fights, but I think how the clinch plays out will really have a drastic impact here. But again, really close, even odds. It's probably almost even split 50-50 in a lot of books. And in terms of how I could see this fight playing out, I think it's going to be pretty straightforward. I'd say in the beginning of the fight, that's really going to favor Usyk. I'd say he is going to come out really technical, really going to establish his jab, really going to establish a lot of distance, and it's going to be probably too quick than anything that Fury has seen, so he's not going to be too acclimated. But I think probably that could go on for about 5 rounds. I'd say 1 through 5. Fury's just going to fill him out, and Usyk is going to get the better of that, maybe even land some clean punches. And I think a problem for Tyson Fury is that he can cut pretty easily. Got a pretty hefty cut against Otto Wallin, almost lost him the fight, and he even got a big cut in his training camp for this fight. I think the original bout was scheduled for February 19th. They ended up moving that back to now on the 18th of May. So I think it's possible Usyk doesn't necessarily hurt Fury, but he is able to land some pretty flesh punches and ultimately will cut Fury above his eyes. That's usually where that's happened. I could definitely see that ending up turning into a problem for Fury, especially since I think the beginning of the fight definitely favors Usyk, even though I'd say both guys have really good endurance and can keep up their pace all the way to the end of the fight. But I do think in rounds 6 through 8, I think that's probably either where Fury's going to come on to him a little bit more, figure him out, or even change his strategy if things aren't going his way. And I think that's where Fury could possibly weigh on him, put his weight on him, fight a little bit dirty and start landing a little bit, potentially even slowing Usyk down. And I could see that definitely open up a opportunity for Fury to dominate the fight in rounds 9 through 11, maybe even knock Usyk down for the first time. He did have a little bit of a moment against Du Bois, but it at the end of the day was ruled a low blow. So we haven't really seen Usyk go down. I think it's possible Fury could take him down, knock him down. That isn't to say that Fury, I don't think, can get knocked down in this fight. I think maybe in terms of a slip or just catching him with a good punch, Usyk could also knock down Fury. But I think that would just be more of something not too unexpected. I don't think it would really hurt Fury, maybe sting him a little bit. But I don't think Usyk can really do anything to hurt him. So that's why I think the later of the fight would really favor Fury if he was able to slow him down and start landing. Could see that happening between rounds 9 and 11, maybe even some 10-8 rounds that could really help Fury out in the scorebooks if Usyk is really just putting on a clinic and getting a lot of those early rounds due to points. And then I think the last round of this fight is going to be extremely interesting. I think that's either where Fury knows he might be down on the unofficial scorecards and wants to land that knockout, so he's going to be super aggressive. Or he maybe has Usyk a little bit hurt and just wants to finish it so it's not left up for the judges. I think we could possibly even see Fury finish him in the last round of the fight. But I think why the fight would really favor Fury, especially in the later rounds of the fight, is because he has a lot of different strategies that he can use. For instance, I think Tyson Fury could win this technically in a way that he beat someone like Klitschko and isn't really trying to trade with Usyk a whole lot, doesn't give him a lot of opportunities to land and really uses his reach. I could see Fury winning on points in a technical manner. I could also see Fury just hurting him a little bit towards the later half of the fight. And then those 10-8 rounds give him enough to land a majority decision or something like that. And I could also see Tyson Fury stopping Usyk. I don't think Usyk would quit or really get knocked out cold. I just don't think, given his chin and his experience, I don't think that's really in Usyk's nature, but I could see some sort of a technical knockout where the judges stop it, something among those lines, or even just, again, winning on points but hurting Usyk. So I think that gives Fury a lot of leeway in what he wants to do, whether he tries to do a little bit more technical or tries to really go after Usyk. That doesn't necessarily mean he's going to land, but I just think in the long run, he'll probably be able to slow Usyk down. So I think because of that, and Usyk is a little bit more limited in what he can do, I think that really favors Tyson Fury in this fight. Usyk was able to do this against someone like Anthony Joshua, but I just think Tyson Fury is a lot bigger and a lot more unusual for a fighter, so I don't know how consistent Usyk is really going to be. I don't think Usyk is going to be able to hold him off for a full 12 rounds. And I think someone like Anthony Joshua doesn't really have that trickiness, is pretty straightforward in terms of his power punches, whereas Fury can come from a lot of weird angles and do pretty peculiar things with his size as well. So I think that's why, even though this is a pretty dead even fight, I would probably just give the slight edge to Fury at the end. But I could easily see a scenario where Oleksandr Usyk is able to avoid getting hit by Fury and just is able to fluster him. So I still see Usyk having a very good chance of winning that clear path of just beating him technically. In terms of probability, I probably would give Usyk winning a decision, probably a 44% chance, whereas Tyson Fury, I think, would have a 46% chance of winning, and I would probably divide that between a 30% chance of stopping him in some shape or form, or that decision if he's able to just really hurt Usyk, but he's able to survive, or he is even able to just have a good technical performance and figure Usyk out. I could see Fury winning a decision, about 16% of a probability for that. But really, where I think the interesting thing about this fight, I actually wouldn't be surprised if it ended in a draw, just because I think they're really neck and neck. And I think, it is very possible we have a scenario where Usyk wins the majority of the rounds, but towards the end of the fight, for whatever reason, Fury just is able to slow him down, put his weight on him, and Usyk's footwork isn't able to be as effective. Maybe, again, that's where that 10-8 comes into play. And that's what ultimately leads to some sort of a draw. I think in terms of the odds, they had it as a pretty low probability. I would say it's probably about a 10% chance that this fight could end in some sort of a draw, and that leaves room for a really good rematch. But feel free to let me know what you guys think. Appreciate you guys watching, and I'll see you later.